Okay, first unto all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahshua, Bashem, Gakdash. Get the one says, plus and teach the great Muslim from learning the truth. And I say shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel. And I'm gonna center this on an example of to be careful who you follow, be careful who you listen to, because you have this guy popping back up, and from what I've seen, he's been talking a lot of shit about Elders and Apostles GMS for a long time. And this is just an example of who the Lord is working with, who the Lord isn't working with. Because, obviously the guy, well, he never really he was never in the truth, but, for the sake of, keeping things moving, he left the truth, so-called. And I don't know what the hell the guy is doing, but it's just a bunch of dumb nigga shit when it comes to all these other groups. And the things that they're saying is blatantly against the Bible. It's not in there. But, majority of Jake are just a bunch of groupies who just want to be a part of something, not really caring to actually study what it is that they're into. And that's in the truth, that's in the world. And, this is just an example of, be careful who you follow and to know what it is that you're doing and what you're a part of. Because a lot of Jake like this nigga think that this is some type of money grab or some type of, trend or whatever. But says guerrillas, malicious attack GMS. The guy, I watched the video. The guy, I'm just gonna play a little bit of it because he's speaking straight up fucking lies.
We almost expected it.
Well, you should have expected it. And here's how disingenuous Elder Apostle Gabar is and Great Millstone is. Because why wouldn't you expect behavior that you taught us to do? You guys literally taught us to talk down to women, to beat and abuse women, to take women's money, to not take care of kids, to abandon women and children. This was literally prescribed by the elders of Great Millstone. We were young, impressionable in the faith, and this is what you poured into us. The very behavior.
And he said this stuff so all of his followers can he says this for his followers. Now I this is all straight bullshit, obviously, and straight straight lies. But when it comes to all these other guys, it's nothing to, and when you go into all this, cause for example, when it comes to GMS pointing out the wrongs with other camps, that's what we do. We point out the wrongs going on with other camps, with other doctrines, various types of hypocrisy. Hey, Howard Shai that did that. But when it comes to guys like that, what all he's doing is, there's no edification. Yeah, and that's the thing. We point out all this other bullshit going on with camps to, show you these are the guys you're following. But there's and we give proof. Just like how IIC was, they had that one guy. I think the officer that kicked the shit out that one guy and put him in the hospital. Motherfucking this Peggy boy over here getting ramrodded by his woman and buying a pegging kit. But he calls himself a leader, and a leader has to be, a leader has to hold himself to, to the standard of a leader. You gotta hold yourself to a standard. Not only was he teaching all types of, false bullshit, but he was also engaged in crazy ass things as what he would call himself a leader. Is it 23? Yeah. Matthew 23:5. Just gonna jump around in here. But for all their works they do, for to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. All the things they do They do it so other people can see them. Verse 6, and love the uttermost rooms at feasts and chief seats in the synagogues. And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men rabbi and rabbi. But be not called rabbi, for one is your master, even Mashiach, and you're all brethren. Gonna skip around. Verse 13. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. And like what he called, he says that a lot. He calls them hypocrites. Why? Because once again, they push a certain image, but when it go behind closed doors, they're engaging in all types of evil and wickedness. And once again, there's a scripture. What was I gonna say? Shit, forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, he calls them hypocrites because they push themselves as these godly men on the outside. Like, well, there's one guy that said that meeting Gorilla was like meeting Jesus. Well, obviously that's bullshit. Like, when did your Lord and Savior Jesus get fucking pegged? But that's that outward, that's that outward so-called good image that these false prophets push. But behind, once again, you have their what's that saying, skeletons in the closet, being coming out the closet and whatnot. He was really coming out the closet, but he's pushing this image. But when you have this proof of who he really is come out, there's a confliction here. Well, who really is this guy? Because like this is supposed to, apparently this type of stuff is against the scriptures. But who really is this guy that these people are following? If he's supposed to be like this godlike, benevolent, wise individual, yet he's over getting bent over by his woman, and he insisted. So who really is the guy that you're following? You don't hear any type of shit like that, and you don't hear any type of shit like that going on with the members of GMS. Certainly not with the leaders, right? Verse 13, but woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shall up the kingdom of heaven against men, for ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer them that are entering to go in. Where is that when it's mentioned proselyte? But yeah, once again, they're bringing in all these other newcomers, all these other guys. That's what proselyte is, newcomer, because I think mentioned proselyte in this chapter, and they lead them astray, knowing what's right and what's wrong. Why? So they can get money, so they can get fame, so they can get women. And all throughout the scripture, the Lord calls these guys hypocrites, because once again, that's what all these other guys are. They're either hypocrites, they're demons. They're leading their people to their death, knowing good and well what they're doing, whether they're doing it for money or fame or filthy lucre or whatever. And this is the type of stuff that we were saying, because like I said, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the nigga, but I saw a few videos, and apparently the nigga's just he just now just straight up just talking shit. From what I'm seeing, I'm not really into nigga shit like that, but from what I'm seeing, he's just talking shit, as he's always have. But he just came back up, right? In 20, to long to a testimony, they speak not according to his word, is because there is no light in them. And that's the main thing when it comes to the truth and when it comes to the scriptures. The whole point is to bring out the scriptures, bring out the word which the Lord gave you. And you have, we have our teachers, and those we're supposed to be following, who we're those supposed to be learning from. Matthew 7:15. You know what? See what that says in the blue letter. 57-15 NLT. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep but are really vicious wolves. They really their true motive is to take advantage of those who are sincere, whether they're sincerely misguided or obviously they're sincerely misguided, right? But he's taking, he's like, just like that one guy. Once again, he said meeting gorilla was like meeting Jesus. I'm sure the guy was either he was paid off to say some dumb shit like that, or he was sincere. But guys like that and all these other camps, they don't properly study. The Spirit of the Lord obviously isn't working with these niggas, right? But they don't study either. There's one guy that came up to the brothers in Dallas camp that didn't know who Aaron was. That's just, and once again, a nigga like that is the majority of these people in these camps. Because if you actually study, it'd be very easy to see that these niggas are not the people you should be following. But this is why GMS, we promote, studying, going into the meaning of words, reading, because the Lord warned us of all of these different things. And here these same guys come, same spirits doing the same shit, and they're getting exposed. And it's easy for us to see. That's crazy as fuck. The guy didn't know who Aaron was. That's crazy as fuck. You can identify them by their fruit, that is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? No, you can't. Because they don't grow on those. They don't grow on those plants. But you can't get good fruit from bad plants. Best way I can put that. And these niggas, once again, the Spirit of the Lord is not working with them. You can clearly see that. You've already been able to see that, but now all these things are coming out and being laid bare. It says you can identify them by their fruit, by the way they act, by the things that they do and the things that they put out. And once again, when these niggas' feet are held to the fire, look at what they do. They crash out. They fucking what's some two little weirdo niggas? Hakan, Hassad, they take the bag. I don't really like using that term. But they take bribes, money. And everybody know that them niggas got bought out. They say things that's against the scriptures, such as Gentiles can be saved. Regardless of whether or not the book really says that, which it doesn't. A good tree can't produce bad fruits, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. There you go. Verse 20, yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so can you identify people by their actions. And that's very self-explanatory. Are these people actually men of the Lord? Well, what are some characteristics of the men of the Lord? Titus 1:6. If any be blamed, 7, for a bishop must be blameless as a steward of Yahweh, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre. Just gonna read that in NLT. A church leader is a manager of God's household, so he must live a blameless life. He must not be arrogant or quick-tempered. He must not be a heavy drinker, violent, or dishonest with money. And those are characteristics that all these other guys have, whether they have a few of those characteristics, all of them, or one of them. Now, obviously, nobody's perfect, but all these things are things that are well within our control. You know, like for example, dishonest with money, filthy lucre. Taking bribes. That's well within your control. Or say, be a lover of hospitality, lover of good man, sober, just, holy, temperate. Rather, he must enjoy having guests in his home. He must love what is good. He must live wisely and be just. He must live a devout and disciplined life. And there's a such thing as a just man falling 7 times. There's also such thing as a demonic nigga. Like, once again, men make mistakes, sure. But for 14, like, I think it was like for 11 years. I think she said like 14 or 11 years. Old boy was into getting his pucker split open. So he's well experienced in that department, which once again, sodomy. And the thing that I find interesting that a lot of people aren't talking, because like we know that like guy like getting pegged, all right, cool, whatever, right? But the thing, like I don't really hear a lot of people talk about how he talked about how he had cuck tendencies. He had a cuck fetish, in which he had that inclination or desire to allow to watch another man have his way with his wife. That right, see, if the pegging thing didn't do it for you, then that right there should have told you, okay, something's clearly wrong with this nigga. Because even in the world, like that's not really that much of a widely accepted thing. Like cuckolding is a thing, right? It's a known thing, but it's not like. But that's even now in 2026, where you have women that have entire TikTok pages dedicated to whoring themselves out and teaching younger whores how to be good whores. Cuckolding is one of those. It's one of those things where it's not something you just come out and fucking say, right? Because you had what's that dumbass Adam 22 to try to say was into the cuckolding shit, because like obviously we're in a time where everybody's out with their freakism and just accepting their freakism, right? But you had that nigga come out and say that shit, and everybody was like, we get it, if you into all this other shit, but that everybody's like, I don't know about that shit, and I think this nigga didn't fucking his wife didn't fucking divorce him or some shit like that, or that like I saw like a thumbnail or some shit like that. But even once again, we're in a time where everybody is open with their freakism. Cuckolding is still that thing where you can't quite come out with some shit like that yet. And everybody that, like, I don't know if people just ignored that, because like that's like, once again, the pagan thing, okay, all right, but cuckolding, nigga, to watch another man with your woman and enjoy it Diddy style, that's crazy as fuck. That's how you see that alarm should have went the fuck off. This nigga ain't fucking right. You have to have a demon on you to enjoy some shit like that. That's what you say he had inclinations for it. But once again, this is where in the scriptures does it say that it's okay for a man to have those type of tendencies? And like if you have some type of tendency like that, obviously you put down, you start motherfucking praying and fasting and shit. Cause that's not a godly thing. What the fuck? That's adultery. And you getting off on it, right? Unless I'm mistaken here. Like, what the fuck? Verse 9, holding fast the faithful word as he had been taught, that he may be able to be sound by sound doctrine, both to exhort and convince the gainsayers. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially of the circumcision. And NLT, for there are many rebellious people who engage in useless talk. And that's another thing, right? Because a lot of all these different things that a lot of these guys engage in is pointless. It's pointless conversation, pointless drama. It's not edifying. It's just a bunch of bullshit. It's literally just a bunch of bullshit. This is especially true of those who insist on circumcision for salvation. Verse 11 in KJV, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not for filthy lucre's sake. And what's that? You're not supposed to be, once again, Gentiles thing. It's not God loving everybody. It's not in the Bible. And literally, the AI chat, which is a tool for gathering information, will literally tell you that's against the Bible. And it's just a belief that was added. Just like the rapture. It was a belief that was fucking added. I forgot the name of the guy who added that shit. But they literally fucking added it. It wasn't originally in there. But they'll still teach this bullshit. Why? For money. And the majority of these dumb niggas will follow them. Why? Because they themselves don't fucking study. And it's not deep study. This is very, very simple to understand. Especially given our people's history. Very simple. It's not, it's not like some deep, crazy, deep breakdown like going into Genesis and how, and it's not like you got to read in between the lines with different scriptures and stuff. This is a very simple topic. Our people were scattered in the heathen lands. They had children in those heathen lands, and they took part in heathen customs in those heathen lands. And those heathen traditions were passed down from Israelite to Israelite all the way up until and it's really started with our people was always engaging in this shit, right? But it really got bad during the Greek Empire, when our people would literally be put to death for obeying our laws. That's how you got Greek-speaking Jews. Because you had some niggas that were okay with it. You had, niggas that got, they pretty much got forced into doing it. Very simple. But, verse 13. NLT, this is true, so reprimand them sternly to make them strong in the faith. And that's what we do. We bring out these things, and we give strong correction, sharp rebuke, stern rebuke, for the sake of niggas getting it right. Not just to talk shit or whatever the fuck, But that's pretty much it. Said once again, this is an example of to be careful who you follow and to know who you follow. But and once again, you do that by taking a look at the men that you follow. What's their track record of work? What's in their track record? Have they been on the highways and byways doing things by the book? Have they been, bullshitting, or have they been doing crazy shit that's been exposed? Because sooner or later, all the shit's going to get exposed. And even now, we still have a bit of time, even as all of these things are coming out. So it's not like, these guys are doing this shit in the dark and nobody knows about it, but you're still following them. No, the Lord is making sure everybody knows who everybody really is. So when all these niggas following these niggas, they can make that sound decision. Okay, I still want to follow this guy even though he's a cuck and he's getting bent over at couch by his woman. I still want to follow him. The Lord's exposing everything, but I hope that made sense. All praises going out. How about Shema Shabbat Shem Dash? The Bible says positive great message from true. Shema to hope Israel, Shushin bound great America.